In this video, I'm going to cover the email segmentation within Klaviyo, everything you need to know from A to Z when it comes to segmentation, what you can segment, what you should segment, what you should exclude, who to send to, and everything concerning that, and all the strategies that we ran for all of our brands and how we generated more than tens of millions in email and SMS revenue. So if you want to know basically everything and stop looking for any other resource when it comes to email segmentation, stick to the end and let's start. So welcome. In this tutorial, I'm going to go through the email marketing segmentation tutorial for Klaviyo in 2024. I'm going to go through 4 ways to segment someone, and these actually make sense. And you can see me, myself, literally 3 minutes ago, I took this screenshot because I wanted to basically go through the discussion that email segmentation is pretty simple and it does not need overcomplication. So in this video, you literally will know everything when it comes to email marketing segmentation, what you need to do, what you need to avoid, and certain strategies depending on how much you send, who to send to and who to not send to. So without further ado, let's start immediately. So mainly, there are only 4 ways to actually segment someone when it comes to Klaviyo, at least, that actually makes sense. So we have one which is engagement, we have one which is the purchase behavior, we have one which is demographics, and then we have also our collected zero-party data. Let's go through the engagement first. So what I mean with engagement is basically how someone interacted with our emails or with our site. So that's usually the most common one, and it's basically, so for example, if someone opened an email in the last whatever days, they clicked through an email in the last whatever days, or they viewed an item in the last whatever days, they've been active on the site within whatever days, whatever you want to choose, they basically had an engagement with your site or your emails. You can go crazy with your stuff. Like, there are multiple ways to do that, but the most common ones are clicked, opened, viewed item, or being active on the site. Then we have purchase behavior, which you can also use within your email marketing strategy, and it's usually something like, they bought 0 times, so they are non-buyer segment. They bought more than 3 times, or they spent more than a certain amount, because some people purchase more, sometimes people purchase less. So if you want to target something specific there, this usually you can use that for like 3 different strategies. One is you want to target non-buyers and want to get them to purchase for the first time, or you have your buyers, maybe your single time buyers, they purchase 1 item and you want to get them to buy a second time. Or in general, buyers are the most powerful segment within your email marketing strategy. I know a lot of people want to get non-buyers into buyers, but you can actually, because people are used to your products and know your quality, it's easier to convert someone who already purchased from you to buy another time, because they are familiar with your brand and stuff, they know your quality, etc. etc. So maybe you want to basically target buyers, or you want to target VIPs and want to send a dedicated VIP promotion. Whatever the case is, usually you want to play around with the purchase behavior here. Demographics, usually not that commonly used. You can actually, within Klaviyo, you can pick a certain zip code, an area, and you can also do a radius. So for example, I don't know, you have an event and you want to target everyone within 100 kilometers of, I have no idea, maybe Los Angeles, whatever the case is, and then you basically select Los Angeles and then you do a 100 kilometer radius, 100 miles, and that way, you have that area, and Klaviyo basically pulls all the data that they have. The next one is country. So for example, you sell in Canada and the US, but you want to send a dedicated campaign solely for Canada, and then you could just basically pick Canada as the country, and then Klaviyo pulls all the data from that, and you can target only people from Canada or the US or whatever country you want to run. What you can also do, which Klaviyo offers, is a predictive gender. This is not really ideal. They basically take a look at names, their buying behavior, their viewing items behavior, and basically predict whether they are female or male. And then you can basically run a female only, a male only campaign. We used to do that, or we used to try that on multiple accounts. For example, fashion accounts, where someone or the store basically sells multiple items and multiple for basically female and male. And then you can basically predict it and then send a female only campaign with only female items. To be honest, not really seen that many cases where it actually makes sense. We used to run that. There wasn't really a huge uplift, so you can literally just run a campaign to everyone instead of going into super niche here, because there's one thing that I will cover in the end of this video, is also kind of the work that is required to send to smaller segments. So that's demographics. And then the last thing is collected zero-party data. So for example, for one company we work with, we collect data on why they are basically buying this item or where they are struggling to. So it's like a sweat-proof clothing. And basically we have seen that in the customer audience, we have a clear cut between people who struggle, for example, with sweat at the back, or maybe under the armpits, or maybe, you know, in the intim area. So basically we want to see where they are sweating. So then we can use that, for example, for dedicated welcome series, or for example, for dedicated campaigns. Basically we collect that data. So we have, for example, here in that case, we have their pain points. We know what they are struggling with. We can use that in some campaigns down the line. We also know, for example, whatever you want to collect here, gender, as I said, you can ask someone if they are interested in female items, in female clothing, in male clothing. You can also, for example, if you're running something for babies, you can ask how old their baby is. For example, if you run something for pets, you can ask them if they have a dog or a cat, stuff like that. You know, you usually do that either on the pop-up form or post-purchase, and that will help you basically make marketing decisions, but also you can use that in the campaign calendar if you want to have some dedicated campaigns to that. You can also ask what they are interested in, but yeah, that's basically collected zero-party data. You can see most of that stuff is very, I would say, advanced, and you do not need the majority of stuff. So that's why I wanted to go through the most common use strategy we utilize to generate more than 10 million in email and SMS sales. And we basically split that into 1 or 4 campaigns per week and an optional strategy for 4+ campaigns per week. So we want to include what we call an engaged segment. And that's usually just opened and clicked email in the last whatever days you want to do that. You can, you know, work around with the dates here. I put X because, as I said, you need to play around with, and we use different segments here on different accounts because of, you know, their deliverability, their list size, their list history. So for example, we have one client where like their 30 days engaged segment is huge, and yeah, most of the people, they buy within 30 days or not. And if we would use like 180 days, it would just be way too much sending, and there's like no real benefit to do that because they are literally not interacting with the emails. Or for example, you know, if the deliverability isn't that good, you need to scale that down to like 14 days, for example. Or if you have beds or anything furniture related, those are longer buying cycles, so that way you want to broaden it up. So for example, we have one client that sells very high-end cookware, so that where that's the case, we use, for example, 30, 65 days engaged or 180 days. So that depends on your store and your niche, but that's basically it. Not overcomplicated. If you want to get fancy, I know that some people do. For example, they include visited site, viewed item, abandoned checkout. But in the end, in my opinion, it's not a big deal. I would rather look into if they are interacting with our emails or not. And that's usually a good case. What you can do and can play around with, if you want to get super niche, you can do like interacted with our emails in the last 180 days, or you know, interacted with our item and site in the last 30 days, and then you have everyone there. But as I said, a lot of stuff is getting fancy, and in the end, if you actually take a look at the segments and you split it up between, okay, this is the segment with just, you know, email engagement, and the other one is with store engagement as well, not a huge difference. So do not really take put too much attention on that. Just use that and run with that. It's not a huge deal. But what is actually a huge deal and a big deal is the segments that we want to exclude. So for example, here, what we want to exclude is anyone who got more than, and then you could put whatever number in, emails over all time in the last whatever days, but hasn't opened any of them. This is wrongly set up. So what you do, you basically, you know, tell Klaviyo, okay, if they got a certain amount of emails, either over all time, so that those people you can literally just exclude and suppress because they haven't interacted with our emails at all. And that's usually because they just put a different email address in and the email address is not working. So you can either do that, or what you can also do is they got more than, let's say, 10, 15 emails in the last 180 days. And they haven't opened a single one, or they have opened less than 3. These are usually our unengaged segments. You can play around with these dates here and the numbers. And that's basically something that, you know, a dedicated segment that we do not want to send to, because the likelihood of them opening our emails, clicking through and then buying is very, very low. And we do not want to ruin all the deliverability, and that's why we have those segments that we exclude. The next one is anyone who marked our email as spam, dropped email, or email bounced. This is just, as I said, basically for deliverability. Pretty much all of these are for deliverability, and in general, I wouldn't take a look at email segmentation to drive sales, but rather to improve email deliverability and not run into deliverability issues. So who marked email as spam, dropped email, and email bounced? Pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. Like, anyone who marked our email as spam shouldn't be sent another email to. But I know that some people do that and they just do blasts all the time. So that's definitely something to look into. And the next one is purchases last whatever days. So for example, supplements, then you could do like 14 days. If you sell something higher AOV, you can do 30 days depending on your buying cycle. But usually we want to exclude purchases because they are in the thank you sequence and we do not want to really send to them, to be honest. Especially if we have like promos and stuff, you can get into some big trouble if you, for example, send a 30% off after someone literally purchased 2 days ago. They would refund and it's a lot of headache for the customer service, and yeah, do not want to run into this. So tell your email team to not run that. So this is basically 1 to 4 campaigns per week. And then there's another optional strategy for people who want to send more and have the capabilities to send more. And that's usually for like 4+ emails. Because before that, you can literally just send to everyone. But more than 4, it gets a bit tricky when it comes to unsubscribe rate and spam complaints and stuff. So what we can do is we basically split between buyers, non-buyers, and VIPs. Usually it's buyers and non-buyers. And what we can do, we basically send 3 emails per week to everyone. And then we send 1 to buyers and 1 to non-buyers. And that way we basically have 5 campaigns in theory, but we actually have 4 for each of those segments. And that way we have bumped up the volume and we can go a bit into more detail when it comes to their pain points of each of those, because buyers, they know your quality and stuff, so they do not need as much nurturing as, for example, the non-buyer. But you can basically play around with that. And then here's kind of my last take when it comes to segmentation in general. Our main goal, because this strategy is only there because of you're saying a lot of stuff and you have the capacity to actually send more when it comes to your team efforts. Because the only way to actually scale out is that we work more and we do more campaigns. And usually, if you take a look at the campaigns that you send out regularly, they are suited for everyone. Like, even though you're a buyer, a social proof campaign would be beneficial for you to remind you of the proof, to remind you of the quality of your items, to remind you of all of the good stuff when it comes to your store. So there are very, very, I wouldn't say there's a single one, to be honest, a single campaign where a non-buyer would not benefit, and there's not a single campaign where a buyer would not benefit. So in the end, our email strategy is suitable for everyone and every segment that we want to run to. So that's why the main goal is to send to as many people as possible without hurting deliverability. And things do not have to be 100% accurate. So for example, if they were looking at pens, they might be interested in like a notebook, even though they were looking at a pen, So that's why we do not want to exclude everyone who looked at a pen, So things do not have to be 100% accurate. In the end, majority of subscribers will benefit from all email angles we want to use. Plus, we do not pay too much by sending to more people. That's kind of one thing with Klaviyo. So they charge by basically the people on campaign level. So for example, you pay for a 50K plan, then you can send to 50K people per send. So what you could do in theory, you could split up between 25-35 and you would still be fine. But what you basically do not want to run into is you're sending to just 25K because you have so many segments and you do not hit your threshold. So we do not pay too much by sending to more people, and we can actually get some more sales. So there will be, of course, diminishing returns at high volume, but the more we split into smaller segments, the more cost in product we have. Cost as in, we have to produce the emails and someone has to do that. So that's why usually the cost in production for another email, it will most likely not outweigh the marginal benefit you get from slightly adjusting that to the segment that you want to send to. So that's been a masterclass on email segmentation and why email segmentation is pretty simple and does not need overcomplication. I hope this video in and of itself was of value to you when it comes to email segmentation. If you want to know more, feel free to go through the YouTube channel. If you want to work with us, then feel free to schedule a call with me. At the end of that, you will get a free audit, no matter the size of your brand, no matter what your intentions are. That's basically my goal for 2024, giving as many email audits as possible. And then in the end, if you find the suitable partner for you, that would be amazing. would be us. We handle basically everything when it comes to emails, flows, campaigns, deliverability, SMS, pretty much everything when it comes to retention strategies. We've also done quiz funnels. We also done direct mailing campaigns. So there's not really that much that we haven't done. So rest be assured, this will definitely be a wonderful partnership. So feel free to schedule a call and I'll see you there. Thank you so much.